Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, also on podcasts everywhere. If you have a question about franchise law today, you can call in at 210-308-8867 or drop me a line on the Facebook Live feed. Or you can just email me at host@talklawradio.com, or you can visit the website where Ed Marvin works. That's leecave.com, I think.
It's www.gun-lee.com.
Oh, okay.
So it's and there's two N's in gun. So
I got the order mixed up. So we're talking about taking your business to the next level, possibly by franchising. Ed's going to talk about the law on that, and then a little bit later we'll talk about how to get your business ready for franchising. There's a lot going on there. So Ed, tell us a little bit about where the franchise law is located and what's the short history on that.
Sure. So franchise law really started in the late 70s. What you had is you had a situation where the federal government, specifically the Federal Trade Commission, which I'll refer to as the FTC, decided that basically there were people who were being taken advantage of. Okay, people were being sold things that basically there was representations being made. If you buy into this, you're going to make lots of money. And so the FTC decided that because of kind of the landscape as to what was happening, that there needed to be some regulations passed, right? And the FTC, they regulate much more than franchise. They do the national do not call list, and just kind of unfair type of antitrust actions, kind of in conjunction with the Department of Justice, but basically the FTC decided, okay, we need regulation. There's too many people who are being taken advantage of, so we need to regulate it. And they passed the original franchise rule that went into effect in the late 70s. Okay, so for a period of time, franchises were operating under that federal regulation, and then it was the rule, which we call the rule. The franchise rule. It's 16 CFR Part 436. The rule was amended, and the final version of the amended rule went into place in 2007. We call that the amended rule. It's not
too creative,
not very creative. But so as we sit today, we're operating under what is known as the amended rule. It went into effect in 2007, and that's kind of the federal regime. Okay, so there's a federal component here, and if you're offering a franchise or you're offering franchises to people, then you got to comply with this federal piece. There's also a state law piece, okay, and it depends on the states. So here in Texas, for example, we have what is called the Business Opportunities Act, and essentially the way Texas works is if you can state that you are in compliance with the federal rules, then you're in compliance with the Texas rules.
Oh, that makes it easy.
It makes it super easy in Texas. Okay, but there's other states out there. For example, California, Hawaii, I believe Michigan, where and some others where their rules are much more stringent. Okay, and so if you go to offer a franchise in those states, you have to comply with those states' laws as well. It's not just the federal law. It's you have to comply with the state and the federal. So, that's kind of the background, the basis of where the laws are. We've got this federal piece that governs everybody, and if you go and offer franchises in certain states, you've got to look at the state law landscape to figure
Okay.
out what needs to happen there.
So is the choice of law based on where the headquarters is or where you're offering the franchise?
It's where you're offering.
Okay.
And candidly, it's interesting that the term offering. What does offering a franchise mean? Well, it depends on the state law.
Okay.
Right. So, for example, if you have a website up, that's accessible in all 50 states and
Right.
really accessible worldwide. Okay. So, are you going to get yourself in a situation where you are offering a franchise in one of these states that have stricter regulations and get yourself in trouble there? So you just have to be very, very sensitive, very aware of that.
Okay. So if your business is getting to the point where you think you want to offer franchises to other people to run a business like you would run yours, that's what we're talking about with franchise law. And so define some key terms for us, Ed. Franchisor, franchisee.
Sure. So franchisor is the person or entity that is offering the franchises. Okay. Franchisees are the people or entities that have accepted the franchise and are operating maybe an individual restaurant, maybe an individual cleaning company under the franchisor's or with the franchisor's permission. Okay. And so that's kind of when I say the term franchisor or franchisee, just remember the franchisor is the person who is offering the franchises, and the franchisee is the person who is essentially accepted and what the franchisor is offering.
What are some key components of a franchise?
So I'm going to talk. It's too difficult to go into each of the individual state laws. We wouldn't have enough time, and so I'm going to talk generally with the FTC, the federal regulations, which governs all the states.
Right.
So in order for it to qualify as a franchise, there's three components. All right. The first component is there's got to be a payment from the franchisee to the franchisor of $615 or more in the first 6 months.
Usually more, right?
Usually more. Usually more. I mean, it kind of can depend on how you structure it, and there's ways that potentially the payment is not made to the franchisor directly. Maybe it's made to go purchase the cups or the napkins that have to be used in the franchise. But in general, there's got to be this upfront payment, or I should say, within the first 6 months of $615 or more. Okay, it used to be $500 when here recently in the last few years they upped it to $615 because of inflation, I guess. So that's the first component. The second component is you've got to have a trademark license. Now, what that means is that the franchisor has to have some sort of a trademark or trademarks that they're giving permission to the franchisee to use in connection with their business. So, popular franchise that probably everybody knows about is McDonald's. Okay, well, the Golden Arches, the name McDonald's, the name's Big Mac, McChicken, or Chicken McNugget,
Right.
whatever. These are all trademarks. Okay, they're in my world they're source indicators. So when you go and you're driving down the road, with the family or whatever, and you say, well, we want to go to McDonald's. You see those Golden Arches. When you go to McDonald's that you're going to get a certain quality of goods and services. They're going to have a certain menu offering. And you're relying on that trademark to make your purchasing decision. Okay, so as part of a franchise, the second element is you've got to have this trademark license where the franchisor who owns the trademark is saying to the franchisee, you can use my trademark. And then the third component, and this is really what differentiates a trademark license from a franchise situation, is you've got to have the franchisor providing substantial assistance or control. Okay. Now, typically you have both. All right. But if it's just substantial assistance, that would qualify, or substantial control, that would qualify. And again, typically you have both. And so that key word there, is substantial, is kind of where the differentiator is between a franchise situation and just a regular trademark license. So yes, if those are the three elements: $615 payment, trademark license, permission to use some sort of a trademark, and then substantial assistance or control.
So let's talk about assistance and control. What forms have you seen that take?
Okay, so they can take a number of forms, but to kind of understand it, I think we have to kind of look at what sets up why someone goes and does a franchise.
Okay, let's do that.
So typically what happens is a person, an entity has developed a unique concept, all right? And it doesn't even have to necessarily be unique. It could just be that they're doing something better than other people, and it becomes successful, all right? Now, as you go and you're one person, right? Maybe you got your family members, maybe you got your trusted friends or whatever, but they're helping you run this
Successful
enterprise.
business.
That's right. And you start to say to yourself, man, I'm doing something pretty good here, but there's only one of me, and there's only 24 hours in the day. How can I go and scale this so that I can go and offer this wonderful business to others? Well, that's where the franchise comes in, all right? When it comes to your question about the control and what does that look like, well, what happens when you're this person who's running this successful enterprise, you start to say to yourself, what is it that I am doing right? What is it that if other people are out there and offering the stuff that I'm offering, and I want it to be successful, what are my secrets? What's my
Secret sauce.
That's right. That's right. And so, and it becomes a little difficult at times to sit down and write out why it is that you're successful, because you could be running a business based upon your values, what you believe. Maybe you're someone who believes in hard work, being there and supervising your employees, et cetera. How do you and then there's other little intangibles. How do you put that down on a piece of paper and say this is why I'm successful?
And it can be duplicated by somebody else.
That's correct. And so once you get to the point where you say, okay, I think I've got it down. I think I've got it written down as to what if some third party goes out and does all these things, they're going to be successful like I am, right? Once you kind of get to that point, that's where the control comes in, right? Or assistance, because you want your franchisees to do what you're doing to replicate your success. And if they don't do it, your concern is that it's not going to be successful. So,
and it's going to make you look bad.
Well, and it not only make you look bad, but you have as part of a franchise, you have a franchise agreement. So you have a contractual agreement with the other side. And if it doesn't work out, is the franchisee going to come after you and say, "Hey, you said I was going to be successful, and I'm not."
Yeah.
So that's where you've got to have those provisions where people say, follow, and if they follow them, then the hope is that they'll be successful.
Okay, we got to take another break. When we come back, we'll continue talking about franchise law. We'll also have our Saints and Sinners segment, so stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.